Sorry. And that was the only time she ever came to my church. And who knows, maybe every time the child has intellectual disability. I don't know which one, if it's Down syndrome or I don't know the specific type of disability. But the child was very hyper during church service, was going around. And the mother was always going around to take the child. Please come, or stay here, this, that. And the ushers were just insensitive. At some point, were scolding the child. But much later, they had to let the child be alone. So for that kind of a woman, she might be like, hey, if I should go to that church again, or maybe they will start saying, kinikon, let me just stay at home. Or maybe she keeps going to different churches every week just because she wants to worship. Or she just say, let me just stay at home. So because of the way, directly or indirectly, our actions or our inactions are also causing the reason so many parents are trying to hold or keep their children at home. And it's also the reason why many families still believe that having a child with disabilities is a curse, and that children with disabilities are object of shame. I want to tell, I'm a very young lady. Permit me to tell you this with all due respect. Kò ń ṣègùn, kò ń ṣèpè, kò kí ń ṣe whatever. Kò kí ń ṣe anything to have a child with disability. And like it's usually being said, if our society were to be working properly, all these disabilities, disability is not even the disability. It's the society that does not have the facility to make us function properly. That is even worsening us. That is worsening our condition on a daily basis. And that's the fact. If I need to go from one place to the other and I'm on wheelchair and there are no bumps all around, I will go there. I don't need anybody to assist me. I don't need someone to start harassing me one way or the other because I'm on wheelchair. I don't need someone to start harassing me because I'm blind and I need to move from one place to the other. And that's just the truth. If you want to walk on the walkway like this, before you step from one place to the other, you see Okada. Even when you can even see clearly where you are supposed to walk normally. So when you have a particular place for persons to walk ordinarily on their own, you now see Okada. Even Mariwa will even climb the covert to even come and meet you over there. So all of these things, all the inappropriate situation in our country, in our system, are the things that are making our disabilities more pronounced. And there are some people, if you look at times, those who say they are not even blind or they are not visually impaired, they are, without their glasses, they cannot see someone in front of you. And they will not be able to they will not want to identify with the community of persons with disability. So we shouldn't see it as, oh, they are them, we are here. We are all together. This also explains why children with and without disabilities cannot learn and play together in the same school. So you have some children, some schools where you say special schools because you need to train our children specially to be able to learn certain things. Because in a school for the blind, they can be able to learn Braille, where all these facilities are supposed to be put in place in every school facilities to make every child learn without any problem or any issue. Imagine someone who has been in school, maybe you're in class, you're in GS3, and you now acquire one form of disability or the other. Do you have to leave that school? If there is any form, or if there are some facilities to make you continue in that school, it's even better for you to continue in that kind of environment. Even in workplaces, imagine we see these things happen. You are working at a particular office, even while on work, on duty, you have an accident. It might even be in that same organization that even you cure that accident, or you are able to, you gain that form of disability. They will say, no, we don't have facility for you, please leave and just get out of here. And we see these things keep happening on a daily basis, which should not be so. And this also is the reason why primary healthcare centers are not accessible to persons with disabilities, especially women and children with disabilities. I was doing a story on accessing sexual and reproductive health rights for women with disabilities. And I heard stories of how it's been difficult for people to even go to health centers, healthcare facilities. And even when you get there, go to even the way the doctors will be talking to you, what's doing you? Who is your husband? Who impregnated you? Eh? And some will even see like, hey, you should even be happy someone impregnated you. Can you imagine? And being further discriminated and stigmatized in that kind of situation, and you would not even want to seek for all those facilities. So these are the things that we need to address that should be looked into. And some of these discriminations are why community development associations do not have PWDs as members of their leadership, and their programs not targeting persons with disabilities. Okay, so I'm working on it's a story that I'm still working on. In Osun State, the issue of palliatives during COVID-19. 6 stories I was hearing, like there was a COVID-19 committee. The government said, oh, we don't want to be involved at all. Let's have a committee on their own, constituting of private sector. The committee, 21-man committee, there's no single person with disability. When I spoke with the Jonapid head there, he said if he should calculate, if he's being generous, it's just about 3% of people with disabilities in that state that got any form of palliatives. Now, at some point ago, he was even being harassed. That people were saying maybe he had already collected one and he's even holding it on his own. But if a person with disabilities among them, among the community members that have been set up, it won't be difficult for them to say, oh, we have persons with disabilities in various local government though. Let's care for them. Oh. People were sharing stories. A particular man who is in Osogbo, 43-year-old, he said if he was now depending on his wife and they had 4 children and life was just so difficult for him. He said he was going through emotional and psychological trauma at that particular point in time. And when the wives at the wife's office at some point, because of there was lockdown now, they were not paying them. He said it was just so difficult. I was even getting kind of emotional when he was sharing the stories. But if a person with disability were to be on that panel among those community, no matter how wicked that person is, he will still think about his people. And that's just the truth. So these are issues that we need to we just disregard them, and we feel or we think that we should just go on with our life. And this is a large part of our community that we shouldn't neglect. Like what Daniel mentioned, according to the World Bank projection, we have about 15 million, if I'm right, like 15% of our population are persons with disabilities. Imagine that percentage is so huge to be neglected at all. So we really need to ensure that our actions or our inaction are not further discriminating against this category of people. And the concept and practice of community-based rehabilitation and inclusive development is an approach for promoting disability inclusion, which prescribes that children and adults with disabilities should not be denied their fundamental rights of being born, being cared for, interacting and prospering in communities of their choice. So we should not say, ọmọ wo no ti bí sí ìdílé wa yìí o, kò sí lè níran wa o, ìyá ẹ̀bọ ló ti gbé wa o. And we are so fast to start saying, kìnìkan, this shouldn't be this. Even if such child acquires disability later in future, what would you do? And sometimes we try to say, never in my family, never in my generation, never in my community. You start doing rich. Instead of you to adopt early intervention, to be able to care for such child, we are not only to responsibility and situations get worse. So it is quite important that every child and adult with disability possess fundamental rights, just like every other non-disabled child and adult. We are all equal. There is nothing like they are there, we are here. And I think Barrister will be talking more about the Special People's Law of Lagos State, and for us to know our rights. So we should know that we are all entitled to this. We couldn't say, you be treated, you cannot go to school because kiniko. Why should I pay attention on you? Kiniko, no, we shouldn't do that. No one should suffer any form of exclusion, discrimination, abuse, and neglect as a result of any form of disability. There's a particular child who was going to write common entrance. They do the one for state government and federal government. So the child was going to state school, state Lele. And this is for Lagos State that practice inclusive education. The child got to the center. The family has even gone ahead. The child is visually impaired. So he has his typewriter to be able to write the question. He just needs someone to read the question for him. Do you know the principal in that school frustrated that child? Now you're not going to write exam in this school. You are not going to write. The parents were like, we came here to even make an inquiry before. This was the school he selected. It's just for a teacher to just read the question, and the boy will type his response. He's not even asking that the school should provide the typewriter or anything. He has all the things he needed. The child didn't write the exam in that school. They had to transport him to state board. And when the result came out, guess what's going to happen? Of course, the boy failed. What are they going to say? Imagine the trauma that he has gone through. When his other colleagues are writing the exam already, and you are saying because you are blind, you should go away. You cannot write a test here, you cannot write an exam here, just to write an exam in that particular school. But by the time the child was going to do the federal test, common entrance, he passed it, and he already gained admission into a secondary school, federal secondary school now. So you can see how our inactions, or we feel that our lamole to daju, blind students or electrical blind student or any school can like that, and these things are not good. What if it was a man's child, or you feel like anybody you. Every community has a responsibility to make all necessary social, cultural, institutional, and physical/environmental adjustments to provide reasonable accommodations for persons with disabilities, resident or working therein. I don't know how this community is structured, but if there are certain groups that are set up for activities for different programs, we should engage persons with disabilities. We should not say they have nothing to offer. That's the truth. We should not say they have nothing to offer. No matter how little, no matter how minimal, everybody has something to offer. So within the context of CBRID, which is community-based rehabilitation and inclusive development, PWD should no longer be forcefully institutionalized, but be guaranteed the right to receive and enjoy all necessary basic services, which is education, health, vocational training, employment within their communities. So what this is saying basically is, if there is a particular child, the child should not be forced to be taken far away from home because the child wants to access education or health services. What is the reason why we have to most times we take our children far away from homes is because ìyá alágbájá kan sọ pé ọmọ yín lélẹ́yìí o, ọmọ yín tí nǹkan ṣe àbáwọn ṣe máa ń sọ òun lélẹ́yìí o, and start avoiding the children and all of those things. So if we don't do that, if we are giving the necessary support to those children, if we are giving necessary support to their families, they won't feel neglected, they won't feel bad, they won't want to say mi tó fẹ́ káwọn èèyàn tó máa fi mí bú ẹ o, jẹ́ kí n mú ẹ lọ sí àyè àbíbẹ̀ yẹn o, kíní kan àbí dọ́ra dúró sílé o, dúró lẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ jẹ́gẹ́dẹ́ o. The child wants to socialize, say rárá o, má lọ sọ́dọ̀ ìyá kíní kan tó máa ń kanra yẹn kó máa kanra mẹ́ o, and all of those things. So on the other hand, local communities and their social and economic structures and institutions must begin to respond to the peculiar concerns of children and adults with disabilities, while also ensuring effective mainstreaming of PWDs and disability issues in all aspects of community development. Bí ó ní àwọn ètò ìdàgbàsókè tẹ́ ń ṣe ní agbègbè yín, bí a tẹ́ ń dáwó tẹ́ ń ṣe ni, ẹ máa wò pé okay, báwo náà ló ṣe máa benefit àwọn persons with disabilities náà ní community wọn. Mo fẹ́ ṣe example kan, ta ló mọ kí ni Berger Bridge yìí? Berger jìnnà sí ìbàyẹn náà. But okay, so there's a pedestrian bridge at Berger, and there's a particular part that has a ramp. If you see the number of people using that ramp, it's even much more than wheelchair users. But so it means when we are thinking about inclusion, when we are thinking about persons with disabilities in our design, we are thinking for everybody. So it benefits everybody. But the regular staircase, even by the time you are even climbing it, you are panting. You really buy a color and shine. It's imagine that's magni. But that's the truth. But if you're using the ramp, even without any form of disability, it's easier for you to just go. So by the time we are doing anything, any form of development, by the time we think of persons with disabilities alongside, we're thinking for everybody. And so we need the later there were more wheelchair user kan wà níbí báyìí, ẹ jẹ́ ká ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ máa plan fún wọn. Like the National Disability Act provides that public institutions should have wheelchair accessible entrance. That's since last year now. They have 5-year moratorium. 5 years, there are still some facilities that will still not have all those accessible entrances, which we need to start working towards. So communities and other stakeholders, governments, the media, CSOs, faith-based organizations, they need to support inclusion by ensuring that all children with disabilities go to school. I think so. I'll summarize in Yoruba at the end. So we need to ensure that all children with disabilities go to school. So community can request that government rehabilitate schools within their domains such that they can become accessible to children with disabilities. There was a story that Sarah Reporter did one time like that on inclusive schools. Inclusive schools are not inclusive. I think that was the title of the story. Emma Rikini pavement àbí tó lead sí entrance class yẹn ó ga báyìí. Even before kó tó débi pavement yẹn ó ṣe rí gbúrúgbúrú. So, and that's an inclusive school. And even if you have any child using crutches or wheelchair in that particular school, they no class, and that was even the picture that they used in that particular places, in that particular story. So, in our communities, if we have opportunity, be our CDA, one shape per day, better ṣe ń túlé ẹ̀kọ́ wa yìí ṣe o, ẹ jẹ́ kó a ṣe dáadáa kó lè accommodate everybody. Ensuring that women and girls with disabilities are not exposed to any form of domestic and gender-based abuses. I was part of a meeting yesterday where someone was sharing a story of herself. I was trying to maybe hold back not to share the story, but of course we don't know the person. And she was talking about how she was almost a victim